Hello, hello, hello. Hopefully, the people in the room can hear us. We are just starting today's webinar. If you can, please take out your phone and pull up your camera app and scan the lovely QR code that we have here on the screen to join us on the Menti. I really want to make sure that people can hear and see us now that we've started this webinar. So maybe if you can write something to me in the Livestorm chat or hit the heart in the Menti, that would be great. I see that we have 243 people with us in the Livestorm. Amazing to have so many of you here, and I'd love to get as many of you as possible into the Menti as well. Today will be a highly engaging webinar. We will be doing a lot of questions and answers and product demo. So really want to make sure that we hear from you and make it as relevant as possible for all of you. So we have quite a lot of training, consultants, learning and development people here, training coordinators, training officers. I'm seeing a lot of training. So it's amazing that we have really captured the right people in the room today. So welcome everyone to today's webinar on maximizing training impact through engagement and feedback. My name is Astra, and I work in the marketing team here in Mentimeter. I'm going to be leading you through some of the webinar today, but I have two special guests here today who will be doing a lot of the heavy lifting and sharing their knowledge and their insights with you. So we have Siobhan Molander from Mid and South Essex NHS Foundation Trust. We will introduce her in a little bit. For some reason, the slides kind of went missing. Frederick, is there any chance to get them back up? Let's see what happened there. Please bear with us for a second.
Of course. Regrets.
All right, we are back. So we have Siobhan and we have Frederick. Frederick is from our own Mentimeter. He is a customer success manager. So as I said, to participate, please scan the QR code. Frederick, if you could maybe give us the QR code again. Perfect. Yes. So throughout the session, you can engage with us. You can ask us questions. Any question that you would like, you can ask us. We will be moderating the Q&A to make sure that we let through the most relevant questions. So if you have any very deep product questions, hold on until the end when Frederick dives into the demo. And we will also share how you can get more insights into any answers that you might need. You will get the recording and the slides right after the session ends as well. So if you can't, I'm seeing some people say in the Livestorm chat that they can't see or hear anything. Please try just refreshing the browser and hopefully that does the trick and we can get going. So the agenda that we will have for today is that we will go through a little bit of why do organizations care about impactful training. Then we will dive into how Siobhan and NHS increased their training engagement, feedback, and participant satisfaction. Then we will get more inspiration, tips and tricks and different demos from one of our own customer success managers, Frederick. And then, of course, we will do a Q&A with both of the speakers. So let's talk a little bit about why impactful training. And I was doing a little bit of research, kind of digging deeper into why people say that they use Mentimeter for impactful learning and why people talk about impactful learning is an important topic. And there are two main topics that I could find. One of them is that investing in learning helps to retain talent. A lot of people, and this is based on a study done by LinkedIn regarding the Workplace Learning Report from this year. So people say that learning improves their kind of connection to the organization. It adds purpose to their work. And as you can see here in the graphic to the right side, you can also see that companies or organizations with a moderate and strong learning culture actually also have up to 57% higher retention of employees. So that's a really wonderful case for why we should invest in our employees and invest in upskilling them. And it also helps organizations stay competitive. So, developing talent internally really enables companies to adapt to change, boost employee engagement, and also drive innovation. And we found some insights from Deloitte that organizations that prioritize learning also have a higher profitability. So, with that being said, this is kind of some of the things that we found, and we would love to hear from you. Why do you think training and upskilling is important? And let's see if I can just put up the QR code here again, just in case you didn't have the chance to join just yet. So let's see what you in the room have to say. Competitive, need for growth, retention, employee buy-in, supporting creativity, also very important. Frederick, any chance you can scroll a little bit for me to see? Great. Staff development, retention, outcomes production. Great. I really like that the room agrees with some of the research, so it must be correct what we have just walked through. So it's really nice to see that we have the right people in the room and the topic is important to you. So I'm really happy that we now get to dive a little bit into how Siobhan and her team managed to increase their training engagement, feedback, and participant satisfaction. And so we're going to do this in kind of an interview style. So I will be asking Siobhan some questions, and Siobhan will be sharing her experience. But before we dive into that, Siobhan, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the people here.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Mentimeter, for inviting me. My name is Siobhan Mullender. I'm based in Essex in the UK and work for one of the largest NHS organisations in the country. We have 3 acute sites and over 15,000 staff, so it's quite a significant size organisation. My current role is Head of Clinical QI Capabilities, so quality improvement, and that encompasses all of the quality improvement training we need to do across our organisation and human factors training as well. And I'm a registered nurse by background and have 27 years in intensive care nursing and the last 5 years with a more front-facing improvement role. So that's me.
Amazing. Thank you, Siobhan. We're really happy that you could join us today. And let's dive straight in. So what sparked your interest in bringing on Mentimeter for your NHS Trust? And what was the challenge that you were looking to solve?
I guess I'll take you back to just post-COVID 2021, really. My role changed slightly and I took on the responsibility for all of our quality improvement training across the organisation. We use a quality improvement framework called QSER, which is well known throughout the NHS, and that stands for Quality Service Improvement and Redesign. We run several programs. One is a one-day course, which is a fundamentals program. And then the other one is a 5-day program, which we generally run over a consecutive 5 weeks. We obviously, post-COVID, had to move all of our training online. Pre-COVID, we would have done all of this in the classroom and had maybe 30 participants in the classroom. Moving online, the content is quite heavy. It's very detailed, especially the 5-day program, so it can be quite heavy in a virtual environment. As I'm sure you'd all appreciate, it's much harder to know whether you're reaching people, I guess, in a virtual environment. So we were worried about the quality of the teaching, whether it was landing or not, whether people felt engaged in the sessions. So we began to explore what was out there and came across Menti. So did some checking out of the company and then reached out and had some really interesting conversations at the beginning about what could be offered. So it was really about looking at our training program and how we could enhance it by getting more engagement within those sessions, but also getting feedback for the sessions, because QSER, as I said, is nationally recognized. We do need to get specific measures to send back to the bosses, so to speak, to say that the sessions are running effectively and that we're delivering the right message for for people. So I guess two-pronged really. It was about getting feedback from people about the content and the quality of the training, but also ensuring that they weren't asleep in the background and actually engaging within the content. So we do a lot of breakout rooms, but alongside that, it's different check-in points throughout the day that we use Menti for as well, to make sure people are still in the room.
Yeah, and here, thank you so much for sharing. So it was your training sessions moving online, it being harder to keep people's attention, and also throughout the process, you had to find some ways how you could show that Mentimeter was actually, so to say, worth it for your NHS trust. And here we have a couple of the items that you highlighted as some of the reasons why you chose Mentimeter. Any one of these that really stood out to you the most and maybe was the most important in your choice?
Yeah, I mean, I think the speaking freely has, in our organization, that's become really important, because as much as it's not as important in our QI training, we're doing a lot of work around incivility in the workplace at the moment, and using Menti to do a lot of surveys of staff. And our staff are often a bit skeptical about the anonymity, but actually that's kind of guaranteed with Menti. So people feel a lot freer to be able to be honest in that space. What I love about Menti is that you can do those kind of surveys live in a room, and as you're having a conversation with a group of up to 100 people, you can be getting live feedback on what they're experiencing in the room, which can then, you know, lead you down another conversation route perhaps that you weren't expecting. So I think the interactivity and the simplicity, and for me, the fact that, you know, I can build a Menti very quickly. It doesn't take a lot of skill, and actually visually it's quite pleasing. So it's a nice framework, and it's very simple to use. I think it's quite helpful as well.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. And so you mentioned then that you had to measure the impact of Mentimeter, and you already touched a little bit on the why. Maybe you can just reiterate that a little bit, and also talk a little bit about these two metrics then that you decided to measure.
Yeah, so we had quite a lot of help from your customer success team at the time, and we worked quite collaboratively with them. We decided very early on that we were going to be a kind of a case study for you guys, because we were starting at the very beginning, and it seemed a really good point. Obviously, as I'm sure people will know, the NHS is very short of money. So to be able to justify spending money on a product like Mentimeter, we had to absolutely prove that it was going to work and enhance what we were doing. So the customer feedback success team helped us at the very beginning to bring out these two metrics that we were going to use. So what we were trying to achieve was improve the amount of feedback we were getting from people in the first place, and then hopefully look at the satisfaction surveys of the actual training content by integrating Menti into some of the training as well. So we don't just use it for feedback, we use it throughout the day for different interactive events. Like we'll start all of our training with, you know, how are you feeling today? Where are you from? What job role do you do? So rather than having 30 people in a room having to introduce themselves, which we all know is impossible, we can do that very quickly on Menti, and then we get a sense of who's in the room, so you can focus your training a bit more on whether it's clinical or non-clinical staff that are in the room. So we got a lot of support from your team in deciding these, and then all we had to do was send some of our measures across to your team, and then your team did some of that work around pulling that together in the reports, and I'm sure you're going to show some of that data.
Indeed, we will. So one of the first things then to really tackle like how to increase the number of survey participants, you identified a quick win that you did really fast, right? Can you tell me a little bit about what that was? And then we're actually going to show the results of what happened.
It was very much just trying to encourage people to do it before they leave. So not finishing the teaching day until people, so the last thing we do is the slide, and we might keep a couple of slides back so they don't leave, but getting the Menti in a little earlier than you would normally, so that we get the feedback from people when they're in the room, rather than before we used to send out a form, most people wouldn't send it back. We had varied responses. They might fill out 2 questions and then leave the rest. So actually, we just found that keeping them in the room for a short time or finishing up the training a little earlier and keeping them in the room helped to get that kind of participation up.
Yeah.
And also they tended to fill out all of the questions when we did it that way as well, which was really helpful.
And here we can see, so you had one session or one cohort of trainings which we used as kind of the baseline. So we can see that the survey response rate was 30%. And then immediately when you started collecting, kind of keeping people in the room and kind of forcing them to submit the
In a nice way.
Yeah, in a nice way, of course. We can see that it increased automatically.
Yeah,
Great.
and yeah, so we saw an instant improvement in the amount of data we were capturing, but also because we'd introduced Menti into the teaching at different levels during the day to break up just delivering PowerPoint all day long. The actual success of the content was improving as well, and we were able to see that in our results.
And I think we actually, this is what the next two slides are about. So what were the positive effects of getting more feedback? And we have one, I think, statement from your colleague, Tino, who's sharing a little bit that you were actually able to, make some changes. Can you tell us a little bit more about the changes that you would make based on this increased feedback?
Yeah, so on day one, there's this quick fire quiz at the end of the day, which really takes people by surprise because they're not expecting it. But you kind of have to have listened all day to be able to answer some of the questions. So it's really good fun. It's got mad chaos music in the background, which really throws people, but it's asking really quick fire questions. But also Menti allows you to assign a little icon to each person. So there's a little, at the end, you see who won the competition almost. So it's a really quick fire way of adding some fun in and kind of, you know, what the end of a training day is like. It can be quite, we've had enough now, we're done. This kind of energizes people again, and it was a really good way. So we're exploring how we can use that function a little bit more. So it both gathers an idea of whether the training landed with people, but also I think it re-energizes them before they leave the room, which is quite nice.
Great. And then we spoke with one of your trainers as well, Samantha. And I really liked this thing that she had to share, that she feels that her message is getting across better when she uses Mentimeter.
Absolutely. You can gauge how the audience are feeling at different points throughout the day. So you're not having to wait till the end of the day evaluation. You can put mentees in for various things. And even if you want people's opinion on a topic, you can just add those mentee slides in wherever you want it throughout your day. So it does feel more engaging. And often when we do breakout rooms, we can put a mentee into the breakout room so their feedback comes in via that route as well. So yeah, just using it more and more as we go along and we develop the skills to be able to see where it fits better in our training. But Sammy would be a big advocate, and Tino, of using Menti in training.
Great. And so we've talked a little bit about changing how feedback is collected and then getting more feedback, adding Mentimeter throughout the training session itself as well. So what was the impact on the participant satisfaction rating? We have, of course, prepared the little story, so to speak, of how it went. So, Siobhan, I have to say you started with an already quite high score of 4.34. But then what do we see happening here?
Yeah, so we have a very skilled faculty who deliver this training and have done since about 2018. So people were used to the training. I think it was just making it even better by the interactivity throughout the day and those regular sessions where you kind of break out into breakout rooms, but also you're concentrating on bringing in some new technology that makes it a bit more interesting, I guess. Check-ins at the beginning of the day, check-ins before lunchtime, those kind of, are we still on the right track? So we're almost being quite responsive to the people in the room, I think, which is great. So yes, we saw an increase in improvement satisfaction ratings. But as you say, we already had a good training package. This just made it even better. And we were able to justify that it was better almost, which was really helpful for us.
Yeah.
And again, it is about evidencing the worth of the product, because obviously there's an expense, and in the current climate that can be difficult to justify.
Course. And I think, I mean, we really have to compliment you as well, for actually thinking about measuring kind of metrics and specific improvements with Mentimeter. I think that sometimes engagement can be, a little bit hard to measure, but I think that you really found a wonderful way of, getting some concrete metrics, and then
As a quality improvement team, it would be bad if we didn't think about measurement for improvement before we started. Yeah,
exactly. So I have one last question for you. Just maybe some thoughts on how has Mentimeter been successful for you, and has it been successful for you? And, what has been, other than these metrics that we've seen, what has been the biggest improvement that you've seen?
I mean, for me, we're using it across our whole organization now in various ways. So it's not just our quality improvement training. We're now using it in our incivility sessions, where we're teaching people to be decent to each other in the workplace, and we're able to get some feedback from staff. We've used it for surveys, where we've asked people for specific examples of bad behavior, and they've been happy to give them because it's anonymous. And then we can tackle the team with that kind of information when we've got it. So it's been really powerful in some of that cultural behavioral conversation, I would say. We use it sometimes for massive organizational meetings. So if our chief executive is doing a staff briefing, we can have Menti in the background, so people can kind of give thumbs up, thumbs down to different ideas or whatever they might want to do. So the interactivity with large groups of people like this, for instance, when you've got 300 plus people on a call, is really helpful, because I think it gives people a voice when maybe they wouldn't be happy to put something in the chat or to raise their hand actively, but I think it gives everybody a voice in a space, which is quite helpful. Yeah, I mean, we're just finding new uses for it all the time. I think, as you know, we're big fans. So we absolutely can see the value of it, and continue to explore how we could use it even more. Even with our quality improvement projects now, a lot of we don't use MS Forms anymore for questionnaires. We tend to use Menti because it's a lot simpler, and the visual display of the results is quite nice when you do a survey. So a lot of our projects that go through, we will use Menti as the survey platform for that as well, which is quite helpful. Integration of PowerPoint into Menti is another advantage. So you don't have to go in and out of the system to use it. You can kind of embed your PowerPoint slides within a Menti package and present in that way. So it's very adaptable, I think. And yeah, we love it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Siobhan. And it's wonderful to hear that, you've been using it for a while, you've seen some improvements, and then you're just continuously finding new ways to use it and see value. And just before we jump into Fredrik sharing some more hands-on practical examples, I'm just going to give a little bit of a recap, and you will be getting the recording and the slides after the session as well. And feel free to use this as kind of a framework of how you can think about improving the impact of your training sessions. So what Siobhan and NHS did, they changed how feedback is collected, which meant that they were receiving more feedback. And then, of course, you can't do anything with the feedback unless you, listen and adapt based on this feedback. So that's what they did. And through all these positive changes that they were doing, they were, also adding participation and more engagement and interactivity in the training sessions themselves, which helped them to increase the participant training satisfaction. So that is it for what Siobhan had to share with us for now. We know that there are a couple of questions in the Q&A already, so Siobhan will stay until the Q&A. But now we are actually going to dive into more inspirations and examples of how to use Mentimeter from Fredrik. So Fredrik, feel free to take it away from here.
Thank you so much, Asra. Thank you so much for that. So hello everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time of participating in this webinar. So I'm happy to be here as well. I have 15 minutes on this, so I'm going to try to be as respectful towards your time as possible. So I'm going to dive straight into this. So my name is Fredrik Bostrom. I'm working here as a customer success manager at Mentimeter. I mainly focus on the user experience for users here. So I mainly focus on making sure that you're getting most value out of the product here. So you can add me on LinkedIn if you want to there as well. If you ever have a question or something, just throw that my way and I'll try to answer you as soon as I can as well. Good. All right, folks, of today, first things first then, what I would love to know from everybody here first, just to get a little good idea of where you stand regarding Mentimeter. I would first like to ask, how comfortable are you of using Mentor in training sessions today? How comfortable do you feel? All right, good. Let's see. We have a quite wide spread, I would say. I can see that 99 people already have answered, so thank you for that. Yeah, we have an average of 3.5-ish. Yeah. Well, very nice to see. There's a big average here. We got some true experts here as well. That's nice to see as well. Happy to see that. Okay, good. I'm going to leave it for a couple more seconds to see if we can get something more in. Okay, that's great. Nice to see a pretty wide spread here. So I'm happy to see that. I hope some of these tips that I will show you now can then bring some good benefits for you moving forward. That's great. All right, and the second question I would love to know that we have quite a lot of experts here in trainings, as we saw before as well, and some of those also being using Menti quite a lot. But I would love to understand a little bit better from your perspective then as well. What do you see are the most important factors to keep engagement and focus high during trainings? If you think about it yourself, how do you usually do to keep engagement and focus high? What do you think needs to be there? Knowledge retention, use short questions, yeah. My God, we're getting loads of answers here in quickly. Wow, thank you. You're really productive. Interactivity, variation, relevance, fun. Yeah, absolutely. Getting involved, interaction, fun, a whole lot of interaction. Yeah, so I think I've understood now exactly how Menti works, for sure. Nice pauses. Yep. And I can see as well that 128 people have given me answers so far as well, and some have answered several times as well. So thank you so much. That's amazing. As you can see, I cannot address all of these insights coming in right away. I mean, we are on 74 already, and obviously it's going to take me the whole day here to focus on all of these. So what I want to do right now is to show you a couple of tricks here, how we can use our open-ended slide type, as this is here as well, to make it a little more easy for you to address all of these great insights that I'm getting right now as well, and to be more clear in a communication towards your trainees. So what I can do then is, you see this little spacebar button down here, what I can do very easily then is I can group all of these responses coming in here into more clear categories. So instead of me addressing all of these 189 responses that I just got, I can instead address these 5 clear groups instead by just clicking the spacebar using some AI to group these for me. So instead, I can speak about, okay, the most important factors to keep engagement and focus high, for example, interaction. So while I'm also interacting you throughout this whole process, this is the part where you're learning more as well, while I'm interacting you live as well throughout this training. It should be fun as well to keep engagement and focus high. It should be fun. It should be nice to be there so you can keep focus on the things that really matter. Participation as well, so I can actively make sure that you're participating in the content I'm speaking about as well. It should be relevant, otherwise it will make no sense that you actually are here as well. A variation of content as well. If I'm standing and talking about the same thing, it's going to be boring. And then we got a few new responses as well coming after I press the space bar there as well. So what I'm very easily doing to make it more clear for myself as a trainer or a presenter, moderator, and for you in the audience is that I'm grouping these responses to more clear categories to make it easy for you to address those. Going backwards one step, I can see that we have 193 responses. What I want to do now then, as a second step as well, is a really good suggestion of mine, is if you look down to the left here, you got the Insights button, as we call it. So what I can do now, I can press this little button, and then I can use the summary function here. So if I want to summarize all these great insights I just got from you here to make it more clear, what are the key engagement strategies for trainings? Then I can give you these 5 really clear bullet points. So encourage active participation, incorporate fun elements, use interactive methods, ensure content relevance, and also vary your training formats. So again, the Insights button and the summary is super easy and effective to use if you want to summarize all these great insights into 5 bullet points and make it clear for the audience what we are speaking about as well. Good. All right, moving forward. So I just took this as an example here. As many people of you might know, we have quite a lot of universities using Mentimeter today, but it's also quite similar to trainings in the sense that lecturers are using Menti because they want some really clear, they're using for some really clear purposes in this case. And why, for example, University of Technology in Sydney are using Mentimeter is to not only make lectures more fun and engaging, It's mainly also to facilitate what we call active learning and optimize the learning retention. Because when I'm showing you something right here, and I'm also interacting with you, I'm activating different parts of the brain, one of them called hippocampus, that has to do with memory, which means, in other words, that when I'm interacting with you, while you're also reading and I'm presenting, you will make sure that your participants or trainees will remember this information for a longer period of time as well. And also, it's a great way for me as a trainer or moderator or presenter to do a knowledge check as well in the room, to just check what are the knowledge about the content we are actually speaking about at the moment. And sometimes even challenge misconceptions as well. It could be sometimes that people think they know the results for something, but they actually don't. And depending on what the product is and the severeness of the potential impact it could have if something gets wrong, that could be really good to just do a really quick knowledge check and challenge those misconceptions when they're best at hand. And for that, I wanted to show you just one example then, a more solid example of how you could actually use Mentimeter. So again, I used university before, but this is a little clear example, I think, when it comes to project management and from projects. So if you look at your screen here now, then I'm showing you just one image here. So in projects, you many times know it can sometimes be a little hard to know, for example, who are my stakeholders? How do we do the stakeholder mapping, etc.? Because you sometimes need to know who to address with what information when in time. So in this case here, if you see this question right here, and you see at this image here, we have three options here. Which of these would you choose in this case? 1, only the project sponsor and the team members. B, only the customer and the end user. And C, anyone impacted by the project or its outcome. So in other words, if you look at the standard stakeholder map here, what would you say are the correct answer here if you could take a choice? And what I'm doing right now here is that I'm actually hiding these results, and because I don't want everybody to be affected by the results right away. So I'm actually hiding these, pressing the H on my keyboard at the moment, because I don't want people to help each other out. I want your honest opinion or what you actually think is the correct answer here as well. Once I have gotten the correct answers in and the amount I think is right, then I can just press the H and show those results. So I'm thinking of maybe waiting until I have maybe, say, 130 responses in, at least, to see if some people are getting in there in the very end. Exactly, 129, that's good. 132, thank you. So then I just press H here, and then in this case, 127 people think that C is the correct answer. And what I can then very easily do, I can just press Enter, and then show you that that is actually the correct amount right there, or the correct answer, sorry. So very easy to do. This was just a very easy example of a question showcasing how you can use Menti to just set that standard in the very beginning of, for example, a project as well. To just, do people actually know this information? Do consultants at the department know how to identify stakeholders, those really critical stakeholders to have with you in a workshop? Good. All right. So moving forward then. So one of our most popular functions as well in trainings are, of course, a quiz. And I think most of you people know that as well. So I have to, of course, throw in a quiz question here as well. And before I get started, I, of course, want to share a really nice quote as well, why quizzes are so important as well. And this is from a dear user of ours, named Ali Jacobs, who is the Global Sales Education Manager at Siemens Healthineers. And just to read her quote there, if you're in a session without any knowledge assessments, it's difficult to retain information without solidifying it. So in our training sessions, we do a lot of quizzes and check-ins that helps us to improve the participant knowledge retention. So again, back to how you actually interact with your trainees while you're also showing them information. It's about really interacting so they get to think, they get to reflect. That is how they remember information for a longer period of time. So looking at this quiz then, so I have one question only. So it's literally winner takes it all here. And that is so because I only have 15 minutes today to showcase this. But as we can already see, we have 175. There's always, for some reason, loads of people coming in when the quiz starts. So yeah, really nice to see. Yeah, so 177 people, 181. Good, I'm going to wait for 5 more seconds to see if someone wants to join. All right, good, all right. And now then, so one thing you need to remember for this question is the quicker you answer, the more points you will get. So there's one question in here at the moment, right? So I'm going to press enter. That means I'm starting. And here is the question here. How much did NHS MSc participant satisfaction rating increase by? What did Siobhan actually tell us before her? Oh my God, the answers are coming in. Look at that, older than 150. That's amazing. Good. And yes, correct. 6% is the correct number. So congrats to you, 87 people that got that right. And again, a good visualization and example how we can do some knowledge check. So obviously, again, if we need to go back and do this knowledge check again, we could, or just repeat ourselves again. But again, now I know a little bit better to where the information, how many know this information here. Okay, good. And looking at the leaderboard then, of course, you always have to have a leaderboard if you have a quiz. So we could always check then who actually won this. Who was the quickest person actually answering this? And with 985, that is Maria. So Maria, whoever you are and wherever you're sitting, congrats to you. Buy yourself a nice little small cake on your way home from work or something to celebrate. Congrats to you, for sure. Good job. All right, nice. So that was the example of the quizzes. And again, being used by many universities and a lot of professional organizations out there in both project management and trainings. So a big recommendation is to try that functionality out as well. All right, so the second question I would like to ask you is there anything you need to feel more comfortable with project management? So this is more of a generic question to you in general. I've given you a few examples here, and there's a really clear purpose to why I'm asking you this question. I'm going to show you why that is as well. But the examples are more training and exercises, more personal feedback, additional study resources and support materials, something else, or if you have everything you need to feel that you can handle project management in a good way. All right, 151 people have answered, 92 feel more training, 75 additional study resources, 46 more personal feedback. Yeah, for sure, I do need that myself. Something else, only 5 people, that's good. And 9 have everything they need. Good. For the sake of time, I'm going to move forward. So thank you for 164 people that give me this answer. But why I answer this question then is because what I can do then, if I hover on the left side here a little easily, I can actually connect this using what we call segmentation. So if I wanted to connect this with the first question I actually answered you, with the stakeholder question, if you remember that question, what I can then do very easily is that I can just hover over, for example, say, for example, the answer A here, which got this question wrong. In this case, I could just hover over to see, okay, what does these people need that answered A? Do they need more training exercises, more personal feedback, etc., to be able to do a better customer stakeholder mapping, etc.? So you could easily connect this to, for example, a department. If you have different departments that you are training, you could connect it to different departments, making sure to know which departments are there, and then you connect that departments to what they need to be able to perform in the best optimal way. And I can hover over these very easily to see here. What I can also do that I want to show you again is that if I close this segmentation, no segmentation, then we see that 5 people have something else. That means that it leaves you with a problem. So currently, you don't know what these 5 people need, in this case, to be able to feel more comfortable at product management. If you want to be a little proactive here, instead of leaving you with a problem after this training is done, you can very easily use our insights button here and just actually figure out what these 5 people want. So if you open up a follow-up question, and then you just address this here, you see that the same headline will pop up here, but free text answers instead will be available for you. So then I can just address and say, for you who need something else to feel more comfortable about project management, what do you need? Do you need more support, for example? Would you need exercises? Would you need testimonials? More glitter? Exactly. Everybody needs different things. Shadowing is a great example. More money, exactly. I wish I could help you there. Cake, yeah, exactly. Everybody deserves more cake, always. Dojo sessions, I would love that. Yeah, exactly. So as you see here, clear examples. If this were cases that I wanted to investigate more what these people need, I could do it right away. So instead of leaving from here with more questions in my head, I can instead be proactive and investigate what I actually need here. Good. All right. So moving forward, for the sake of time, with respect, I only have 15 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move forward. How you can evaluate trainings then. So you can use Mentimeter in various purposes of training, of course, but you can also evaluate trainings afterwards. So many of you might have seen that we also have the survey capability in Mentimeter. So once you have had a live session like this, one of the most easiest use cases is to just create a survey instead. Create a couple of interactive questions with something that you really want to investigate. For example, we talked about metrics today. For example, it could be everything from participation ratings. What did you think about it? Is there anything else you want to see? And then you can just very easily send that survey, get those responses in, and analyze those in your own time. Because the difference between a survey and a live session is that people can answer in their own time when you send a survey. So that is a great way of using surveys and getting input and feedback in. And of course, the results and analytics as well. So once we have gone through all of these data points, we've collected a lot of answers from you. You might have collected results from surveys. Then you very easily can just find those under results here. So I can very easily just press in here to results and go through all of these results in my own time if I wanted to. So I can analyze these, reflect, I can download those to Excel or PDF, share those with management, colleagues, or anyone else that I wanted to as well. Good, so that is a good recommendation from me there, to always check those results and then build presentations based on those. Good, I'm gonna move forward down here. We are here on the results, analytics, and then I just press present again. And finally then, so again, I only had 15 minutes. I'm looking forward to maybe doing a longer one later on, but I would love to ask you one final question then. So based on this really, really quick and small, obviously suggestion that I gave you now, only having 15 minutes, how comfortable are you currently feeling using Mentimeter in training sessions, implementing, for example, quizzes, some questions beforehand, using grouping, using summary button, etc.? Good, I can see that 137 people have answered, so thank you so much for that. 150 people, yes. Okay, good. So, well, we increased a little at least. Some people obviously have increased a little, so thank you so much for that. So this is a good example of how you can, for example, then ask the same question again and then collect the average answer there as well. So you know a little bit better, at least if people actually see that they learned something from today and you increased that specific metric as well, to know a little as well if people learn more, but also you can prove your evidence, and you can also give a good evidence that you as a trainer also doing the right things as well. So good. Okay, so I don't have too much time now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this to you now, Astra, to take over as well. So I don't take too much of the time here.
All right. Thank you so much, Fredrik. Thank you for showing all of these tips and tricks. For everyone asking in the chat, you'll get the recording and the slides after. So at any point, you can just copy this presentation to your own account and take some of these examples that Fredrik has shown and just apply them as you need. But here we have also linked a couple of resources for you to come back to once you get the slides. So if you have any support related questions, anything about a specific feature, how to get something to work, you can check out the first 3 links, or you can also contact our fantastic support team and they will help you out. And if you are from an NHS team with a business need to access Mentimeter, maybe you're feeling inspired by Siobhan's success and you would like to try it out for yourself, then we have left here an email to who you can contact here at Mentimeter, and then he will help you get the right conversations going. But we have very little time for Q&A actually. So what I'm going to ask you to do is open the Q&A on your phone and go in and upvote the questions that you would like Siobhan or Fredrik to answer. And we might do, unfortunately, just one question to each, but let's see what is the top upvoted question. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to give you a few more seconds. And let's see. All right. I'm going to switch now, and whatever it is, it's going to be, you know? All right. So is there a way to make a PowerPoint slide interactive? I seem to be struggling with this. Fredrik, this is a question to you.
Exactly. Yeah, so what I would say is when you're adding a PowerPoint into Mentimeter, in this case, it's going to be static. So you could always add interactive slides in between PowerPoint slides, in this case, between different sections. If you're using our PowerPoint integration, absolutely, then you could add a few interactive PowerPoint Mentimeter slides in PowerPoint. The only thing, though, is that your IT department needs to approve that integration. So that is important. But there are 2 different ways, Mentimeter into PowerPoint or the other way. We have a really good resources for you to help you there, which we can send after this as well to guide you.
Yes, amazing. Thank you, Fredrik. And I think that our next question is also related to the Microsoft world, but this time it's to Siobhan, because Siobhan, I think you mentioned that you've stopped doing Microsoft Forms and you're doing Mentimeter now. So why is Mentimeter better for you?
in very simple terms, it's much easier to use, more accessible, easier to share with people, and it looks nicer. So you can put a list of 5 questions on one page for people with, and I know you can do that in forms, but Menti just allows the feedback to look better when it's presented back. That's my view. We still use forms for other things, but the majority of people, once they've seen Menti and the way it can be used, they choose to use Menti over forms. That's just what I've experienced.
Amazing. Yeah, you can't really beat beautiful visualization sometimes. Sometimes we need a little bit more color and nice shapes in our lives. Great. Well, with that was unfortunately the 2 questions that we had time for, but I appreciate everyone being so engaged, asking the questions, and also the Livestorm chat was going crazy at times. I saw that people were knowledge sharing in the chat, so it's always super lovely to see. So thank you very much for joining us today, joining me, Frederick, and Siobhan. And we really hope that you found today useful. You will get the recording and the slides in your inbox right after we wrap up. And yeah, thank you. And we know that we want to collect some feedback. And when do we do it? We do it in the session. So I'm actually going to just flip over to our own feedback slide. So please give us some feedback about what you thought of today's webinar, and we hope to see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.